flash floods, which has led to the loss of lives, loss of business, destruction of property, and disruption of national activities, Mr. Speaker. Just to mention a few. In one unfortunate incident, Mr. Speaker, the old Kijabe Dam in Kamushiri village experienced a dam failure owing to structural failure characterized by sudden, rapid, and uncontrolled release of impounded water, which led to deaths of over 50 persons and 100 plus hospitalized as at now, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, opening of schools has also been halted due to the uncertainty on the safety of the children and the teachers, as well as the unfortunate conditions on some of the schools, Mr. Speaker. In addition, there has been loss of livelihood and business, and this has also exacerbated the already worse economic situation and led to immense and immeasurable suffering of Kenyans, and mostly the small traders, Mr. Speaker. The unprecedented events of the floods have also led to the closure of roads and highways, impacting the road connection network, and has likely to affect the secluded areas due to increased prices of basic needs as a result of shortage of supplies, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek leave for adjournment of the House to discuss this matter of great national concern with a view of exploring possible solutions in order to advise the responsible key players, stakeholders, and the country at large, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Do you have the requisite number supporting you?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I'm asking them to rise, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The motion, for those who are not listening, is to adjourn. Order. For those who are not listening, the motion is to adjourn the House to discuss the raging floods in the country. The support is overwhelming. A member for Kipkelion, I also want to advise you that after I received and approved your motion, a nominated member, Irene Mayaka, also brought an identical motion, and I'll probably advise you that after you've spoken and moved the motion, whoever will be in the chair, Irene can be given the second bite, because she had a similar motion. I direct that the motion having overwhelming support will be debated either at 6 or after order number 13 on the order paper, whichever comes earlier. Next.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Member for Turkana South, Ariko. Honorable Ariko is in the House. Ariko Namoit. Statement deferred. Next, member for Chepalungu, Victor Koech, Elias Mandazi.
Thank you, Speaker. I rise to request for a statement regarding disparities in promotion of teachers in Bomet County. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 44.2c, I rise to request for a statement from the Chairperson of Departmental Committee on Education regarding disparities in promotion of teachers in Bomet County. Honorable Speaker, following the recently concluded interviews by the Teacher Service Commission, a concerning trend has been reported which is negatively impacting teachers in Bomet County and specifically Chepalungu constituency. Astonishingly, only 4 teachers from Bomet County were promoted while 57 positions granted to teachers from outside of Bomet County, despite there being numerous qualified candidates from Bomet County. Regrettably, experienced teachers who have led schools in the county from their inception were overlooked in favor of candidates who reside from outside Bomet County. It is noted that teachers from within Bomet County have been involved in running of schools and significantly grown students' population, contributing substantially to development in education in the county. In this regard, it is observed that external teachers often lack sustained commitment to local education development, viewing their position as a stepping stone for career progression rather than development of education in the locality of the schools. Honorable Speaker, on 3rd November 2022, this House passed a motion resolving that the Teacher Service Commission reverses the delocalization of teachers and devolves the deployment of teachers to zonal level in line with the International Labour Law, ILO, and UNESCO practices on teachers' management and deployment. However, this seems to not have been implemented by the government. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of Departmental Committee on Education on the following. Could the chairperson provide reasons for the significant disparities in the promotion of teachers in Bomet County and specifically Chepaluku constituency compared to other counties? 2. Could the chairperson provide the rationale behind the overlooking of long-serving teachers in acting capacities in Bomet County during the promotion process? And lastly, Mr. Speaker, what measures is the government taking to postpone the deployment of teachers until adherence to established guidelines, including the ILO and UNESCO practices on teachers' management and deployment? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Chairman, Education Meli, you've heard the request. You bring your statement the first week after recess. Next member, nominated member, Umul Khair Harun.
Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 44-2C, I rise to request for a statement from the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Blue Economy, Water and Irrigation regarding the overflow of Masinga Dam affecting downstream residents. Honorable Speaker, Masinga Dam plays a crucial role in generation of hydroelectric power for our country. However, following the ongoing rains, the water levels in the dam have increased exponentially, leading to overflow. This has severely affected residents of Garissa and Tana River counties, which are situated at the downstream area of the dam. Among the hardest hit are farmers, who have suffered immense losses as their crops, including mangoes, bananas, watermelons, tomatoes, onions, and chilies, have been swept away. The destruction of these crops will not only affect the livelihood of the farmers, but also exacerbates the scarcity of essential food items, leading to a surge in prices. It is also noted that due to impassability of roads, residents generally rely on boats as a means of transportation. This results to increased safety risk, as exemplified by the recent events on the Garissa-Madogo Road, where a boat capsized, leading to loss of lives. Honorable Speaker, it is against this backdrop that I seek a statement from the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Blue Economy, Water and Irrigation on the following. What immediate measures have been put in place by the government to address the flood menace in Garissa and Tana River counties caused by the overflow from the Masinga Dam? What steps are being taken to provide assistance to affected farmers, including provision of financial support? Could the Chairperson clarify whether there are any measures being put in place to improve infrastructure, such as road networks and drainage systems in the downstream areas of Masinga Dam to mitigate floods, flood risk, and facilitate emergency response efforts? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Chairman responsible for Water, Bowen. That
Mr. Speaker, we
will not wait for 2 weeks. That's an emergency. Bring a statement on Thursday, day after tomorrow.
most obliged, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Honorable members, we'll go back. There are more statements. Yes, what's out of order?
Honorable Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity. Honorable Speaker, I needed your guidance and direction as in line with our Constitution, this House never legislates in vain. Honorable Speaker, this regards the political parties' affairs, specifically political parties' funds, Honorable Speaker. I'm glad that you superintend a political party as a party leader of the Second Liberation Party, Ford Kenya Majenga. Honorable Speaker.
Don't use me as a pretext to make a statement.
Honorable Speaker, that will not change.
Yes.
Yes, you are. And we are happy about it. Honorable Speaker, the political parties fund gave a 0.03% of the budget, country's budget, to go towards political parties. And we all underscore the role played by political parties in advancing our democracy and freedom in this country, Honorable Speaker. And there are many, many activities underneath political parties, including grassroots election and others, Honorable Speaker. Coming to my point, Honorable Speaker, whereas the law is very clear on the participatory role played by political parties, all political parties in Kenya are not receiving their due fund, Honorable Speaker. As we speak today, 11 billion shillings is owed to political parties in this country. When the budget for the year 2022-2023 was being crafted, Honorable Speaker, during the...
What is your point?
My point is what I'm coming to, Honorable Speaker. The Budget and Appropriations Committee did remove 800 million shillings in a supplementary budget from political parties, Honorable Speaker. My concern at this point in time, even as we work on the next round of budget cycle, Honorable Speaker, is to ask you, as our Speaker, to direct Treasury, our Budget Committee, and whoever is involved, Honorable Speaker, to respond to the needs of political parties as regards the political parties fund. This country has done great to pay external debts. Political parties fund is owed 11 billion shillings, and that is an internal debt that must also be responded to, Honorable Speaker. I need your direction. I need your indulgence on this. As the Secretary for Public Policy and Economic Affairs in the biggest party, ODM, Honorable Speaker, and I thank you.
Your concerns noted. Yes, the Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, maybe I will commit to follow up on the question of exchequer releases, but on the question of review of the monies allocated to the political parties. Honorable Speaker, you know that was not a decision of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, as a honorable member asserts. That was a decision of the House, because the House that's where the Honorable Owino also sits in. And I am certain he was here when we passed the resolution to reduce Honorable Okello, not Honorable Owino. Honorable Okello was in the House when we made that decision to reduce through supplementary estimates one. Honorable Speaker, I am also aware, and it's good that you say that you have noted, but it's also good for the Honorable Okello to know that after the House resolved to reduce the allocation to the political parties. And you know, Honorable Speaker, our party UDA is the largest political party, and therefore we lost the highest amount in supplementary estimates 1. But the party that Honorable Okello comes from, subsequent to the passage of the resolution by the House where the Honorable Okello sits in, to reduce that amount, the Honorable Okello's party ODM went to court, and that matter is already before the courts. And I do not want to get into sub judice matters, Honorable Speaker, but I was hoping the Honorable Okello would allude, or rather inform the House what informed him and his party to support a motion on the floor of the House to reduce the amount, then go to question the same decision in court. And I had hoped Honorable Okello would speak to that particular aspect, but I can see he has veered off. But let me, Honorable Speaker, commit to check with the National Treasury and maybe report back to the House on Thursday as to when we can get exchequer releases, not just for the political parties, but also the pending NGCDF exchequer releases now that we are going on the long recess, the long working recess, and I know a number of members will be keen to get money released for NGAF and NGCDF and also other development exchequer releases before the end of the financial year. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Okello, you should have been honorable enough to disclose that your party is in court on this matter. I don't want to open debate on this. I will go back to that. Inform who? The House is not interested. Honorable members, we have other statements, one by Marianne Kitani, Gideon Mulyungi, and responses to George Murugara, Adan Keinan, and Joseph Lekuton. I'll go back to order number 2, make a communication, then we come back to this. So call out order number 2 again.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Thank you. Members on their feet, take your seats. Order. Honorable Deputy Whip of the Minority Party, take your seat. Honorable members have a communication to make. On a notice of motion for dismissal of Honorable Franklin Mithika Linturi, Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock Development. Honorable members, order. Honorable Okello, keep your cool. I wish to notify you, honorable members, that pursuant to Article 152(6) of the Constitution and Standing Order 64 and 66, I am in receipt of a notice of a special motion dated 24th April 2024 from the member for Bumula constituency, Honorable Jack Kawanami Wamboka MP. The honorable member seeks a resolution of the House for the dismissal of the Honorable Franklin Mithika Linturi as the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock Development on grounds of gross violation of the Constitution or any other law, serious reasons to believe that the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under national law, and gross misconduct. Honorable members, Standing Order 661 provides that before giving notice of a motion under Article 152(6) of the Constitution, a member shall deliver to the clerk a copy of the proposed motion in writing. Whereas Standing Order 661 is silent on the timeline within which the clerk is required to consider the proposed motion and advise the Speaker, it must be noted that a motion for dismissal of a Cabinet Secretary is a special motion under Standing Order 61 which ought to be disposed of expeditiously. Consequently, the clerk is required to consider the proposed motion and advise the Speaker without unnecessary delay. Further, in the case of the Speaker, Standing Order 64 and 66 provide that a proposed motion shall be disposed by the Speaker within 3 days of receipt of notice by a member. The 3 members at the bar, take your seats. This will take a little longer. Take the nearest seats. Thank you. Honorable members, the strict timeline of 3 days is intended to allow the Speaker to examine the proposed motion and any evidence attached to it and determine whether the proposed motion meets the procedural requirements outlined in the standing orders. In this regard, I note that the member for Bomola constituency submitted the proposed motion to my office last week on Wednesday, 24th April 2024. Article 259(5) of the Constitution provides for the manner of computation of time. It guides that where time is expressed as days, the day on which the first event occurs is to be excluded, and the day by which the last event may occur is to be included when computing time. Consequently, the period of 3 days that applies to the Speaker in respect of the proposed motion started running from Thursday, 25th April 2024, the 3 days expiring on Saturday, 27th April 2024, and as such, the earliest available opportunity for the Speaker to notify the House on the admissibility of the proposed special motion is today, being the nearest available sitting of the House since receipt of the proposed motion. Honorable members, allow me to highlight the legal and procedural requirements that guide the process of dismissing a cabinet secretary. Article 152(6) of the Constitution provides, and I quote, "A member of the National Assembly, supported by at least 1/4 of all the members of the Assembly, may propose a motion requiring the President to dismiss a cabinet secretary. A, on the grounds of gross violation of a provision of the Constitution or any law, or any other law, and B, where there are serious reasons for believing that the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under national or international law, or C, for gross misconduct." Procedurally, Standing Order 661 provides that before giving notice of motion under Article 152(6) of the Constitution, a member shall deliver to the clerk a copy of the proposed motion in writing. A, stating the grounds and particulars in terms of Article 152(6) of the Constitution upon which the proposed motion is made. B, signed by the member, and C, signed in support by at least 1/4 of all the members of the Assembly. Honorable members, additionally, the Standing Order 64(1)A provides as follows on the admissibility of grounds for removal from office. 1A, the grounds specified in a motion under this standing order shall be admissible if A, framed clearly to particularize and disclose a gross violation of the Constitution or other written law, where gross violation of the Constitution or other written law is indicated as a ground for the intended removal. B, stating with precision the provisions of the Constitution or other written law that are alleged to have been grossly violated, where gross violation of the Constitution or other written law is indicated as a ground for the intended removal. And C, accompanied by necessary evidence, including annexures or sworn testimonies in respect of the allegations. Honorable members, it's worth noting that Standing Order 64(1)A and 66, as presently couched, find their basis from the practice of the House in the 11th and 12th Parliament, where notices of motion were submitted by members for dismissal of various cabinet secretaries. This includes the notice of motion for dismissal of the then Cabinet Secretary for Devolution, Honorable Anne Waiguru, the notice of motion for dismissal of the then Cabinet Secretary for Transport, Mr. James Macharia, and the notice of motion for the dismissal of the then Cabinet Secretary for Education, Professor Jacob Kaimenyi. My predecessor, the Honorable Justin Muturi, Speaker, has had occasion to guide the House on the manner of considering a special motion such as the one proposed by the Honorable Member for Bumula. In a communication issued on 22nd October 2015 on the processing of special motions on removal of state officers, the Speaker guided as follows. Members at the bar, take the nearest seat. The nearest seat. Take the nearest seat to the lady member. Member for Garissa. The Speaker guided the House as follows: that all special motions brought before the House under Article 152(6) of the Constitution should comply with the threshold established by the courts of law as to what constitutes gross violation of the Constitution or gross misconduct under the Constitution. That the question of determining what constitutes gross violation of the Constitution or gross misconduct is one that clings and hangs on the impeachable authority of the House and is exercisable in two instances. Firstly, at the point of the approval of the special motion for impeachment or dismissal by the Speaker pursuant to the Standing Order 47(3)(b) and (e), which requires the Speaker to be satisfied of the constitutional and evidential propriety of the special motions. Secondly, at the point of investigations conducted by the relevant select committee or tribunal pursuant to the provisions of the relevant article of the Constitution. Averments made in the special motions should be accompanied by the necessary evidence, including annexures and sworn testimonies in respect of the allegation as may be necessary. Honorable members, our courts have also grappled with the question of the threshold for admissibility of impeachment motions. This has led them to set a standard for determining what constitutes gross violation of the law, gross misconduct in impeachment process through a number of precedent-setting cases. Notably, the High Court of Kenya in Martin Nyaga Wambora and 30 others versus the County Assembly of Embu and 4 others, Embu Constitutional Petition number 7 and 8 of 2014, consider the issue of the required threshold for determining what amounts to a gross violation of the Constitution and gross misconduct in impeachment processes. With regard to what constitutes gross violation of the Constitution, the court observed that, and I quote, "The charges framed against the governor and the particulars thereof must disclose a gross violation of the Constitution and any other written law, and the charges as framed must state with degree of precision the articles or even sub-articles of the Constitution or the provisions of any other written law that have been alleged to be grossly violated." Honorable members, the court further gave examples of constitutional provisions whose violation would constitute gross violation of the Constitution. According to the court, this includes the 3 members at the bar. Take the nearest seats. Take the nearest seats. Thank you. According to the court, this includes Chapter 1 on the sovereignty of the people and supremacy of the Constitution, more specifically Articles 1, 2, and 3(2) of the Constitution. Chapter 2, Article 4, that establishes Kenya as a sovereign multi-party republic, and Article 6, that establishes devolution and access to services. Article 10 on the national values and principles of good governance. Chapter 4 on the Bill of Rights. Chapter 6, Articles 73 and 78 on leadership and integrity. Chapter 12, Article 201 on principles of public finance. Chapter 13, Article 232 on values and principles of public service. And Chapter 14, Article 238 on principles of national security, among other constitutional provisions. Further, in respect of what constitutes gross misconduct, The court observed that whether a conduct is gross or not will depend on the matter as exposed by the facts. It cannot be determined in a vacuum, but in relation to the facts of the case and the law policing the facts. Gross misconduct is defined as a grave violation or breach of the provisions of the Constitution, and a misconduct of such a nature as amounts, in the opinion of the House of Assembly, to gross misconduct. Honorable members, drawing from the foregoing, the House amended its standing orders at the end of the 11th Parliament to comply with the prescribed thresholds. Presently, our standing orders 64 and 66 incorporate the pronouncements of the court on the threshold for admissibility of grounds for removal of a cabinet secretary by requiring that grounds in a motion must be framed clearly to particularize and disclose a gross violation of the Constitution or other written law. And such grounds must also state with precision the provisions of the Constitution or other written law that are alleged to have been grossly violated. Honorable members, having examined the legal and procedural requirements of processing special motions for the removal of persons from office, permit me now to determine whether the proposed special motion by the member for Bumula is admissible. Honorable members, it is worth noting that the Standing Order 47(3)(b) and (e) places an obligation on the Honorable Speaker to make a determination on whether any proposed motion is contrary to the Constitution or contains allegations which the mover cannot substantiate. As noted earlier, the question of determining what constitutes gross violation of the Constitution or gross misconduct is one that clings and hangs on the impeachable authority of the House and is exercisable in two instances. Firstly, at the point of the approval of the special motion for impeachment by the Speaker, and secondly, at the point of investigations conducted by the relevant select committee. Honorable members, in determining the admissibility of the motion proposed by the member, I am required to examine two key issues. The first issue is whether the proposed motion meets the requirements of the Constitution and standing orders as to form the threshold required to move such a motion. And the second issue is whether the grounds as contained in the proposed motion are admissible. Honorable members, on the first issue, I note that from a reading of Article 152(6) of the Constitution and Standing Order 66, a proposed motion by a member for the dismissal of a cabinet secretary must be supported by at least 1/4 of all members of the Assembly. 1/4 of all the members of this Assembly is 87.25. In particular, in parliamentary practice, a decimal point is rounded off to a whole number. Consequently, the threshold for initiating a motion for the dismissal of a cabinet secretary is 88 members of this House. Secondly, the Standing Order 66 provides that the proposed motion should be in writing. The proposed motion should state the grounds and particulars in terms of Article 152(6) of the Constitution upon which the proposed motion is made. The proposed motion should be signed by the member and accompanied by the member and signed in support by at least 1/4 of all the members of the Assembly. Honorable members, looking at the proposed motion by the member, I note that pursuant to Article 152(6) of the Constitution and Standing Order 66, the member has stated the grounds and given the particulars upon which he proposes the dismissal of the Cabinet Secretary. Additionally, pursuant to Standing Order 66, the proposed motion is also in writing and signed by the Honorable Member. Further, under Order 152(6) of the Constitution and Standing Order 66, the Honorable Member has attached a list of the signatures of 110 members of the National Assembly who have signed the motion in support. Members at the bar, take the nearest seats. Take the nearest seats. Jalango, take the nearest seat. Honorable members, consequently, I find that the proposed motion by the member for Bumula meets the requirements of Article 152 of the Constitution and Standing Order 66 as to form and the threshold required for a member to move a motion for dismissal of a cabinet secretary. This settles the first issue. Honorable members, moving to the second issue on the admissibility of the grounds specified in the motion, under Standing Order 64(1)A and 66, grounds cited in the special motion are admissible if A, framed clearly to particularize and disclose a gross violation of the Constitution or other written law, where gross violation of the Constitution or other written law is indicated as a ground for intended dismissal. B, they state with precision the provisions of the Constitution or any other written law that are alleged to have been grossly violated, where gross violation of the Constitution or other written law is indicated as a ground for the intended removal. And C, accompanied by necessary evidence, including annexures or sworn testimonies in respect of the allegations. Honorable members, Article 152(6) of the Constitution provides for 3 grounds for which a cabinet secretary may be removed from office. These are gross violation of the Constitution or any other law, serious reasons to believe that the cabinet secretary has committed a crime under national law, and gross misconduct. Permit me now to highlight the grounds specified in the motion for dismissal of the cabinet secretary for agriculture and livestock development. Honorable members, on the ground of gross violation of the Constitution, the member for Mula has stated as follows in the proposed motion: A, that the cabinet secretary has grossly violated the Constitution, in particular Article 2 and 10(1)(c) of the Constitution, on national values and good governance, for failure to undertake public participation with the relevant stakeholders in the implementation of a far-reaching policy decision on the procurement and distribution of fertilizer. That the conduct of the cabinet secretary of approving procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer by the NCPB discloses a gross violation of national values and principles of good governance contrary to Article 10(1)(b) of the Constitution. C, that the conduct of the cabinet secretary of approving the procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer discloses a gross violation of the Constitution by infringing Article 46 of the Constitution of Consumer Rights to goods and services of reasonable quality and their protection of health, safety, and economic interests. D, that the conduct of the cabinet secretary of approving the procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer amounts to gross violation of the public trust, and the cabinet secretary failed to demonstrate respect for the people, bring honor to the nation and dignity to the office, and promote public confidence and integrity of the office contrary to Article 73(1) of the Constitution. E, that the conduct of the cabinet secretary of approving the procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer amounts to gross violation of the principles of public finance contrary to Article 201 of the Constitution, as public money was not applied in a prudent and responsible way. F, that the conduct of the cabinet secretary in which he submitted to the Departmental Committee on Agriculture that the NCPB signed an agent's agreement with 51 Capital Africa Diatomite Industries for supply and distribution of GPC diatomaceous for its commercial function, and that the product was not sold as a chemical fertilizer but as soil conditioner, was in gross violation of Article 152(5)(a) and E 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 of the Constitution. That the conduct of the cabinet secretary of overseeing the implementation of the budgets of the NCPB under his control for the procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer is a gross violation of values and principles of public service on use of resources efficiently, effectively, and economically. Honorable members, the proposed motion also seeks the dismissal of the cabinet secretary for agriculture on the ground of serious reasons for believing that he has committed a crime under the national law. To this end, the member for Bumula constituency has stated as follows in the proposed motion: that the conduct of the Cabinet Secretary discloses grounds that there are serious reasons for believing that the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under the national law involving offences relating to abuse of office and false claims contrary to Section 100 and 101 of the Penal Code. B, that the conduct of the Cabinet Secretary discloses grounds that there are serious reasons for believing that the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under national law relating to forgery, uttering false documents, and procuring execution of documents by false pretenses contrary to Section 353 and 355 of the Penal Code. The member further avers that the Cabinet Secretary is currently under investigation by the DCI following the findings of the court in FML versus DPP and 3 others, Registrar of Companies and 10 others, 2021 Kenya law reports, and is further facing arrest and prosecution in 6 pending civil and commercial and family suits. Honorable members, finally, on the third ground, the member for Bumula constituency seeks the dismissal of the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock Development on the grounds of gross misconduct, and states as follows: A, that the conduct of the Cabinet Secretary of getting into public spats with journalists who unearthed the distribution of the fake fertilizer discloses the ground of gross misconduct insofar as a state officer he has failed to demonstrate professionalism in carrying out duties of the office and in a manner that maintains public confidence in the integrity of the office contrary to Section 11A of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Cap 185C. B, that the conduct of the Cabinet Secretary of storming into the manufacturing plants and purporting to be revoking licenses without conducting investigations amounts to gross misconduct insofar as a state officer he has failed to demonstrate professionalism in carrying out duties of the office and in a manner that maintains public confidence in the integrity of the office, manner contrary to Section 11A of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Cap 185C. That the conduct of the Cabinet Secretary of approving procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer insofar as a state officer he has failed to exercise public trust in the best interest of the people of Kenya amounts to gross misconduct contrary to Section 8 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Cap 185C. And D, that the conduct of the Cabinet Secretary of approving procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer insofar as a state officer he has failed to exercise his duties to the best of his ability and to carry out the duties efficiently and honestly and in a transparent and accountable manner and amounts to gross misconduct contrary to Section 10A and B of the Leadership and Integrity Act 185. E, that the conduct of the Cabinet Secretary of approving the procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer by NCPB discloses the ground of gross misconduct insofar as the state officer has failed to demonstrate professionalism in carrying out duties of the office in a manner that maintains public confidence in the integrity of the office contrary to Section 11A of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Cap 185C. F, that the conduct of the Cabinet Secretary of approving the procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer by NCPB and misleading the public by giving false information to the Departmental Committee on Agriculture that GPC diatomaceous was distributed as soil conditioner and not fertilizer amounts to gross misconduct contrary to Section 29 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Cap 185. Members at the bar, take the nearest seats. Take the nearest seats. Thank you. Honorable members, in addition to the 3 grounds that I have just highlighted, the member for Bumula has attached additional background information to further substantiate his stated grounds. Additionally, the honourable member has attached a sworn statement in which he avers that all the information stated in the proposed motion is true and correct to the best of his knowledge. Notably, the honourable member has also annexed to the proposed motion evidence and supporting documents contained in 5 annexes. This includes the response by the Cabinet Secretary to the Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock correspondences, statements, a court judgment, Honorable FML versus DPP and 3 others, Register of Companies and 10 others, 2021 e-Kenya law reports and submissions by the Kenya Bureau of Standards, KEBS, the Departmental Committee on Agriculture and coal logs, among other documents. Honourable members, in light of the foregoing and pursuant to Standing Orders 64 and 66, I am of the considered opinion that the grounds specified for the dismissal of the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock Development as contained in the proposed motion A are framed clearly to particularize and disclose a gross violation of the Constitution and other written law, in this case being the Penal Code and Leadership and Integrity Act. B, state with precision the provisions of the Constitution or other written law, in this case the Penal Code and the Leadership and Integrity Act, that are alleged to have been grossly violated, and C, are accompanied by necessary evidence, including annexures, sworn testimonies in respect of the allegations. Consequently, the grounds for dismissal of the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock Development and as contained in the proposed motion comply with the requirements of Standing Order 64, 1A and 66. This also settles the second issue. Honourable members, in view of the foregoing, I find that the proposed special motion meets the applicable procedural requirements for it to be admitted to the next stage. Order. Order. You can cheer after I finish my ruling. Those foot thumpings are an interruption. In this regard, honourable members, as with a light touch, I note that Standing Order 47 4A provides that a member shall give notice of motion in the House within 3 sitting days following approval by the Speaker. In the circumstances following my approval of the proposed motion, I will allow the member for Bumula to give the notice of motion for dismissal of the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock Development this afternoon under Order number 6 on notices of motion. Once the honourable member gives the notice of the motion under Standing Order 47 4A, the motion shall proceed to the next stage. Honourable members, I will now highlight a summary of what is expected of the House once the member gives the notice of the motion. In terms of timeline, pursuant to Standing Order 64 and 66, the House is required to dispose of the motion within 7 days of the member giving notice under Standing Order 47. In the event the House does not adhere to the timeline, the motion shall be deemed to have been withdrawn and shall not be moved again in the same session except with the leave of the Speaker. Consequently, if the member for Bumula gives notice this afternoon, the House has until next week, Tuesday, 7th May 2024, to dispose of the motion. However, noting the House is scheduled to proceed on a 1-month recess from Friday, 3rd May 2024, it is advisable that the House disposes of this motion by Thursday, 2nd May 2024. This shall allow the House to become seized of the matter before proceeding on recess. Honourable members, under Article 152(7) of the Constitution, the House becomes properly seized of the matter if the motion is supported by 1/3 of the members of the National Assembly. Upon approval of the motion, the House is required to appoint a select committee of 11 members to investigate the matter. 1/3 of all the members of the National Assembly, which is 116.3, Rounded off to a whole member, the motion shall require the support of 117 members for it to be referred to a select committee for investigations. With regard to the timelines applicable to the committee, Standing Order 66-5 provides that the select committee shall, within 10 days, report to the Assembly whether it finds the allegations against the Cabinet Secretary to be substantiated or otherwise. If the select committee reports finds that the allegations are unsubstantiated, no further proceedings are taken thereafter. However, if the select committee report finds that the allegations are substantiated, the House is required to afford the Cabinet Secretary an opportunity to be heard and a vote whether to approve this resolution requiring dismissal of the Cabinet Secretary. Pursuant to Article 152(10) of the Constitution, a resolution requiring the President to dismiss a Cabinet Secretary must be supported by a majority of the members of the National Assembly, which is 175 members. A resolution that achieves the required support must be promptly delivered to the President and is bound to dismiss the Cabinet Secretary in question upon receipt. Honorable members, from the foregoing, you will agree with me that once the member for Bumula gives the notice of motion this afternoon, the stage shall be set for the House to commence the consideration of the motion. To this end, members should take cognizance of the constitutional and procedural requirements, the threshold and prescribed timelines at different stages of consideration of the motion that I have just highlighted to you. Honorable members, in summary, therefore, I wish to guide the House as follows. Members at the bar, take the nearest seats. Take the nearest seats. Honorable members, I now wish to guide the House as follows. One, that the proposed motion by the member for Bumula constituency meets the applicable procedural requirements of Standing Order 64 and 66 for it to be admitted and considered by the House. Two, that consequently upon the reading of Order number 6 this afternoon, I will permit the member to give notice of motion for the dismissal of the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock Development in accordance with the requirements of Standing Order 47-4A. Three, that since today is not a day for debate, in giving notice of the special motion, the member shall limit himself to a summary of its content, state the grounds upon which the special motion has been made, and the names of the members who have appended their signatures in support of the special motion as required under Article 152 of the Constitution and Standing Order 66. That the clerk is hereby directed to publish the special motion for the dismissal of the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock Department in the order paper for Thursday, 2nd May 2024, in the manner contemplated under Standing Order 66-3, for consideration by the House during the morning sitting of that day, which has been agreed upon by the House Business Committee. The House is accordingly guided. I thank you. Go to Order number 6.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Member for Bumula.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Pursuant to the provisions of Article 152(6) of the Constitution and Standing Order 64(1)A and 66, I beg to give notice of the following special motion for removal of Honorable Franklin Mithika Linturi, EGH, Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock Development on the following grounds. 1. Gross violation of provisions of the Constitution or any other law. 2, that there are serious reasons believing that the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under national law. 3, gross misconduct. This is in relation to the approval of the procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer by the National Cereals and Produce Board and submitting false information to a committee of the National Assembly on the distribution of GPC diatomaceous, which was distributed as a soil conditioner and not as fertilizer.
Order. Order, honorable members. Order. Order, honorable members. Order. Order, honorable members. Order. For the interest of farmers. Order, honorable members. It is out of order to be on your feet when the speaker is on his feet. The House is still in session. Those members who want to have conversations, there's a lobby out there, there's a coffee shop out there, and there are rooms for the speaker which allow you to go and converse behind here. Let's give the House some reasonable silence to hear each other.
Honorable Speaker, do I start?
Yes, no, continue.
This is in relation to the approval of the procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer by the National Cereals and Produce Board and submitting false information to a committee of the National Assembly on the distribution of GPC diatomaceous, which was distributed as a soil conditioner and not a fertilizer. I have particularized each of the grounds and attached evidence to substantiate each claim. Now, therefore, in accordance with Article 152(6) of the Constitution, this House resolves to recommend to the President to dismiss the Honorable Franklin Mithika Linturi from the position of Cabinet Secretary for gross violation of Article 10, 46, 75, and 201 of the Constitution, the Leadership and Integrity Act 2012, and the Public Ethics Act 203, and for gross misconduct. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 66, the following members who constitute at least a quarter of the membership of the House have appended their signatures in support of the notice of motion. I will read. 1. The Honorable Wanami Wamboka, the Honorables Joyce Kamene, Raphael Sauti Bita Wanjala, Fatuma Zainab Mohamed, Paul Musimi Nzengu, James Wambura Nyikal, Gideon Mutemi Mulyungi, Julius Musili Mawadhe, Rebecca Nonaishi Tongei, Pauline Lenguris, Yusuf Mohamed Farah, Dick Maungu Oyugi, Irene Nyakerario Mayaka, Anton Tomo Lodge, Marianne Jebet Kitani, Beatrice Kahai Adagala, Adams Kipsaina Korir, Parashina Samuel Sakimba, Anthony Kibagendi, Martin Peters Owino, Catherine Nanjala Wambilianga, Joseph Maero Oyula, Stephen Mogaka, Doris Donya Aburi, Beatrice Kadeveresia Elachi, Shakil Ahmed Shabir Ahmed, Clive Ombane Gisairo, John Walter Owino, Thaddeus Kidhuan Zambia, Elsie Busihile Muhanda, Frederick Lusuli Ikana, Daniel Ogoka Manduku, Mohamed Aden Ado, Patrick Simiyu Baraza, Zamzam Mohamed Chimba, David Losiako Kosin, Daniel Wanyama Sitati, Gadhoni Wamuchomba, Mohamed Saud Machele, Samuel Onunga Atandi, Charles Ngusia Nguna, Mwago Amos Maina, James Opio Wandai, Junet Sheikh Nur Mohammed, Obadia Barongo Nolfason, Gertrude Mbeyu Mwanyanje, Geoffrey Makoha Odanga, Hamisi Chome Abdi, Erastus Kivasu Nzioka, Sarah Polata Korere, Kajwang Tom Joseph Francis, Makali Benson Mulu, Guyo Wako Jaldesa, Paul Kahindi Katana, Joshua Aduma Owor, Joshua Oduma Owor, John Mbadi Ngongo, Mishi Juma Hamisi Mboko, Hussein Abdi Bare, Innocent Obiri Momanyi, Millie Grace Akoth Odhiambo, Irene Mudhoni Kasalu, Patrick Kibagendi Osero, Jerusha Momanyi Mungina, Joshua Odongo Oron, Abubakar Ahmed Taib, Florence Jematia Segon, John Okwisia Makali, Mangale Munga Chifromondo, Geoffrey Ekesa Mulanya, Timothy Kipchumba Torotich, Ekomas Mwengi Mutuse, Gideon Kimau Kipkoech, Victor Kipngetich Koech, Catherine Nahabi Omanyo, Jepto Ngelechei Caroline, Stephen Mule, Lona Sankare, Peter Nabulindo, Mumina Bonaya, David Mboni, Jane Koyo, Charles Owere, Rashid Juma, Bashir Abdullahi, Abdi Ali, Tungule Kazungu, Ngozi Rai, Hari Kombe, Honorable Timothy Wanyonyi, Haika Mizigi, Fatuma Wajia, Kakuta Maimai, Nabwera Nabii, Innocent Mugabe, Christine Ombaka, Kitilai Olentutu, Joshua Malio, Gidua wa Mashukuru, Mark Mwenje, Geoffrey Ruku, Mary Emase, Eve Obara, Otiende Amolo, Senior Counsel, Peter Orero, Babu Owino, Dr. Joyce Osogo, Amina Mnyazi, Adipo Okwome, J.M. Naika, and Honorable Speaker received even more. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And lastly, Honorable Speaker, I'd forgotten Omoher Harun. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Wandai.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me say that this afternoon I stand before this House a very happy man. Honorable Speaker, today you have made history. I want the Speaker to listen to me. Honorable Speaker, I'm saying that today you have made history and you have put this House on the pedestal of a transformative institution, an institution that adheres to the rule of law and constitutionalism. Honorable Speaker, under Article 152, this motion by the Honorable Jack Wamboka is the last resort that the people of this country, through their elected leadership, can take as a way of holding to account those that have been put in service of the nation.
Order, Honorable Wandai, you are anticipating debate.
I just want to thank you very much.
That is more than thanking the Speaker.
And appeal to my colleague members to turn out in their large numbers. We want this House on Thursday to be full to the brim, so that we can speak in one accord. We can speak in one voice in defense of the defenseless Kenyan
He's on a point
citizen.
of order.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Chepkonga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. You know, I thought the minority leader just wanted to thank you, not to appeal to us, to do an oversight role, which is guaranteed under Article 95 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, we are aware about that particular provision. So there's nothing to appeal to any of us here. We will play our role when that motion is presented here, Mr. Speaker. I can assure him there's nothing to appeal to us when it's a constitutional requirement for us.
I've already cautioned him. He was touting and soliciting. Honorable members, take your seats. We'll go to order number 8 before we come back to... Let's put the question as order number 8, number 9, 10, and 11. Call out order number 9, sorry. Eh?
8. Can I start with 8?
The resolution.
Yes.
Okay.
Order number 8, procedural motion, resolution to hold a Thursday morning sitting.
Majority Leader.
Pio. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 33C, this House resolves to hold a morning sitting on Thursday, 2nd May 2024, commencing at 10 a.m. for purposes of considering priority business ahead of the long recess. Honorable Speaker, I'm sure members will note I have amended the 9:30 that was published in the order paper as agreed by the House Business Committee this morning, that we begin the sitting at 10 a.m. And Honorable Speaker, the reason for having this Thursday morning sitting, as you have ably communicated and following the notice of motion by the Honorable Wanami Wamboka, that motion is time-bound, and therefore we must dispense with it by Thursday. And considering that we are losing a sitting tomorrow afternoon, it's important that we compensate that sitting for tomorrow afternoon with a Thursday morning, and allow me to plead with all members to be available on Thursday, 9:55 a.m. for the House to be able to sit from 10 a.m., consider the business that will be on the order paper, including that motion for impeachment of a cabinet secretary that is time-bound. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I want to ask members to be available on Thursday. It is also our last sitting day before the long recess, which is a long working recess, and therefore it will be important that we are here in time. With that, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move and request the Leader of Minority to second.
Honorable Wandai.
Just give me. Honorable Speaker, I rise to second the motion as moved by the Leader of Majority. And Honorable Speaker, really, since tomorrow is a holiday, it's a public holiday, we need to really recover the days we shall have lost tomorrow. But more importantly, Honorable Speaker, there are businesses before us that we need to dispense with. We need to dispense with certain businesses before we go on the 1-month recess. And top of the agenda is the motion by the Honorable Jack Wamboka that we need to pronounce ourselves on as a House on Thursday, the earliest possible time on Thursday, before we can adjourn for the long recess. Secondly is the IBC Amendment Bill, which is one of the NADUCO bills that are being processed by Parliament. Honorable Speaker, this morning we had a session with you under your able chairmanship, and we were able to thrash out some of the sticking issues surrounding that bill, save for one or two, basically one small issue that we shall be dealing with in the course of time between now and Thursday morning. We should be able then, therefore, to dispense with that bill on Thursday at the Committee of the Whole House, so that the Senate can be seized of it, for us to be able to have in place a working, functional IBC, Honorable Speaker, in the shortest time possible. So, Honorable Speaker, therefore, I think it is in order for us to support this motion, for us to be able to sit on Thursday in the morning. Even though we have agreed on Thursday at 10 a.m., let us try to be here as early as 9:30 a.m. so that we can deal with these issues properly, honorable members. This is a historic moment. You never get it easily. A whole house, a whole term of parliament can go without you getting an opportunity to deal with a motion such as the one presented by Honorable Jack Wambok. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I second.
Honorable members, I now propose the question, which is that pursuant the provisions of Standing Order 33C, this House resolves to hold a morning sitting on Thursday, 2nd May 2024, commencing at 10 a.m. I believe you moved the motion, Order Majority Leader. You moved the motion in amended form. Yes. Commencing at 10 a.m. for purposes of considering priority business ahead of the long recess. Put your question. I put the question. Yes. Honorable members, I now put the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 33C, this House resolves to hold a morning sitting on Thursday, 2nd May 2024, commencing at 10 a.m. for purposes of considering priority business ahead of the long recess. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Order number 9, motion, report of Committee of the Whole House on the consideration of the Senate amendments to the Water Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2023. Question to be put.
Order, members on their feet, take your seats. Order, Honorable Haika, take the nearest seat. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 9, which is that this House do agree with the report of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the Senate amendments to the Water Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2023. As members of that opinion say aye. As members of the contrary opinion say nay. Nay. The nays have it.
Order number 10, motion, providing a safety net for caregivers of persons with severe disabilities. Question to be put.
Order, honorable members on their feet, take your seats. Order. Take your seats. Order. Member for Bumula, take the nearest seat. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 10, which is that aware that Article 21(3) of the Constitution provides that all state organs have the duty to address the needs of vulnerable groups within the society. Further aware that the Persons with Severe Disabilities Cash Transfer Program is one of the 4 cash transfer programs implemented by the government as part of the overall social protection interventions, noting that the caregivers undertaking the immense responsibility of providing daily care and assistance to persons with severe disabilities, PWSD, are oftentimes the immediate family members of the PWSD, concerned that this causes a disproportionate burden on these families as persons who would otherwise be engaged in gainful employment or other activities to provide for the families are limited by these immense responsibilities. Further concerned that this loss of income opportunities and resources exacerbates the challenges faced by these families, cognizant that the government ought to take action to recognize the invaluable contributions of the caregivers and support them in caring for individuals with severe disabilities. Now, therefore, this House resolves that the government, through the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, recognizes primary caregivers of persons with severe disabilities as a distinct category requiring social protection and support, and further develops and implements a cash transfer program for these primary caregivers. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Order number 11, motion, establishment of priority boarding protocol for Kenya Defence Forces and Kenya Special Forces personnel on local airlines. Question to be put.
Order, members on their feet, take the nearest seats. Order. Order. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 11, which is that aware that Article 239 provides for the national security organs, including the Kenya Defence Forces. Further aware that the Kenya Defence and Kenya Special Forces play an indispensable role in promoting and safeguarding national security in accordance with the Constitution. Recognizing that members of these forces face life-threatening risks as they carry out their duties to protect our citizens, particularly in high-risk and volatile areas, noting that there is currently no token of appreciation for the remarkable dedication, service, and sacrifices made by the Kenya Defence and Special Forces, acknowledging that it's important to accord special privileges and honors to our military and veteran personnel, akin to the practice observed in other countries, including being allowed to access services like banking hall and boarding of flights ahead of the general public, further acknowledging that this practice will not only instill a sense of pride among the Kenya Defence and Kenya Special Forces personnel, but also enhance their morale and motivation, thereby boosting their performance and commitment to our national security, cognizant of the fact that there exists no national policy or framework to facilitate the implementation of such a practice. Now, therefore, this House urges the national government through the Ministry of Roads and Transport, encourages local airlines to establish a priority boarding protocol for the Kenya Defence and Kenya Special Forces personnel, which grants them the privilege to board local aircrafts before the general public. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. We'll go back to order number 7. Marianne Kitanyi.
Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of the Standing Order number 44.2c, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security regarding the delay of the Maendeleo ya Wanawake elections. Honorable Speaker, Maendeleo ya Wanawake is a non-governmental organization that deals with women's rights, issues, and gender equity in the country. The organization plays a critical role in advocating for equality and empowerment of women. The management of the Maendeleo ya Wanawake resolved to postpone elections, which were due to be held this year until the year 2028, citing challenges related to the effects of COVID-19 pandemic. Consequently, an election board had been constituted to oversee preparations for the next election. Non-governmental organizations are required to operate within the framework provided by the Non-Governmental Organizations Coordination Act and are oversighted by the NGO Coordination Board. Elections are a very important aspect of such an establishment and signifying the adherence to basic values of democracy and good governance. Honorable Speaker, it is against this backdrop that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security on the following. One, is that aware that the effects of COVID-19 pandemic are now under control and way behind us. What plans does Maendeleo ya Wanawake have to call for elections at the earliest feasible date? And two, what mechanisms are in place to ensure that the NGOs adhere to existing act? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Marian. Chairman Tongoyo, are you in the House? You bring a response the first week after recess?
I don't know, Honorable Speaker, maybe you guide, because I've listened keenly to the question, and I'm a bit worried it's supposed to be maybe in a different committee, maybe gender, I guess so.
Marian, haven't you misdirected your request? What has Maendeleo Yanwa got to do with the administration and internal security? Is it a national security threat? Why didn't you direct it to the committee of
Honorable
gender?
Speaker, the issue is the Maendeleo Wanawake is an NGO.
Yes.
And it is guided by the NGO Act. That is the
NGO
reason
board.
why it has gone to the internal security docket
I
committee
see your
because
point.
of that it is an NGO.
I'm satisfied.
Thank-
Tongoyo, you bring a response the first week after recess. The NGO board is under your office, under your care. Gideon Muliungi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order number 44-2C, I rise to request for a statement from the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security regarding the death of one Mr. Benjamin Mwaniki Kadhengu. Honorable Speaker, on the 8th of January 2024, Mr. Benjamin Mwaniki Kadhengu of ID number 103-60586 was brutally murdered within the confines of his home in Hola, Tana River County, under unclear circumstances. The family subsequently filed a report with the Hola Police Station on the 9th of January 2024 under OMB number 32/9/01/2024. Sadly, the family is yet to receive updates regarding the progress of investigations. The lack of information exacerbates the grief experienced by the immediate family, who are further burdened by the unresolved circumstances surrounding Mr. Kadhengu's tragic demise. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security on the following. Number one, what is the status of investigations into the circumstances that led to the death of Mr. Benjamin Mwaniki Kadhengu in his house on 8th of January 2024? Number two, what measures has the Ministry of Interior and National Administration put in place to ensure that the family of the deceased gets justice following the murder of their kin? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Tongoyo, first week after recess. Thank you. Next is a response to a question or a statement by George Murugara about the mysterious death of Paris Kanini Mugera. Tongoyo, you have the response?
Yes, I have for two of them. One for Murugara and one for Honorable Kenan.
Start with Murugara's.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as guided, let me start by the statement asked by Mheshimiwa Murugara. Honorable Speaker, the Member of Parliament for the Raka constituency, Honorable George Murugara, has requested for a statement regarding the mysterious death of Ms. Paris Karimi Mugera of the Rakanithi County. Honorable Speaker, the member particularly sought to be informed, one, the status of investigation into the disappearance and mysterious death of Ms. Paris Karimi, including the identity of the killers and their motive. Steps that the government has taken to ensure that all the perpetrators of the disappearance and death of the said person are brought to books for prosecution. Action that the government has taken to ensure the Ms. Paris Karimi family is protected from threat by persons likely to be associated with the death, and the measures that the government has put in place to ensure the safety and the right of expression of all Kenyans, political bloggers, are protected. I state as follows, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Paris, who is aged 38 years and a mother of two, left her home on 29 February 2024 about 1 p.m. and did not return back. Subsequently, her daughter, Shavi Mukami, aged 15 years, reported their disappearance at Chuka Police Station on 4th at around 10:30 a.m. via OB number 36-43 2024. Preliminary investigation indicated that our phone was switched off on 29 February. The signal was last traced on 1st May 2024 at around 1 a.m. at a place called The Fathers toward Nairobi from Embu. Unfortunately, on 1st March 2024, a body was discovered along Makutano-Sagana Highway, Kirinyaga County, and a report made at Kiamashiri Police Station by a member of public via OB number 313224 at around 10:30 a.m. The body was collected by Kiamashiri police officers and moved to Kirugara Referral Hospital mortuary. The relative posteriorly identified the body on 8th, and the same recorded at Chuka Police Station via OB number 4383224 at around 15:10. The postmortem was conducted on 14th at the Kirgoya Referral Hospital County, and the cause of death was indicated to be due to the severe head injury. Further samples were collected from the body for toxicological analysis, whose results are still pending. Investigations are still ongoing with the aim of not only identifying our killers, but also bringing them to books to face the law. The motive of the killing is also yet to be known. Honorable Speaker, our non-cell phone contacts are being analyzed, and several statements are so far been recorded from our known friends and the last person who saw her live. The statements are being analyzed with a view of getting to identify and prosecute perpetrators. Honorable Speaker, the investigation process is a joint coordination of the National Police Service and the family members whom the service has worked with closely since the time her disappearance was reported. So far, no threat has been reported through any mode that is directed to any of the family members. Honorable Speaker, the right of expression of all Kenyans is guaranteed as provided for in the Constitution without discrimination of any nature, regardless of political, social, economic, or any other status. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Signed by Honorable Kidhuri Kindiki, CS for Interior and National Administration.
Honorable Murugara, I believe you have heard the response.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have had a glimpse and I've also listened to the response. The only issue that remains outstanding are the timelines. The telephonic contacts of the last persons to have been with the Perrys were or are being analyzed, but there has to be a speed up because there is a lot of anxiety to the family in the county, and everybody is concerned that this poor lady just died a miserable death, and those who killed her are walking around scot-free. So I require a little bit guidelines on what timelines we have.
Tongoyo, mutawashika lini?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I really appreciate his concern, but we should also appreciate that majority of these deaths are complex in nature, and our investigative officers need a little bit of time to get deeper into the real cause of all these problems. But I can assure the member and the family and the rest of Kenyans that our officers are really up to the task, and they can able to get to know what really the killers of this innocent lady. Just asking a little bit of patience as our officers carry their duty.
He's talking of timelines, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Yeah, I'm saying it's hard for me, Mr. Speaker, to really say that in certainty, taking into account the complicity of this. But the forensic investigators are taking samples. I've actually even discussed with the member, but I will still do my best to try to speed up the investigation.
Okay. Next, you again, in response to a request by Adan Kainan regarding the disappearance of Mr. Omar Mohammed Noor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Once again, on the issue of the question being asked by Honorable Speaker Adan Kainan, I state as follows. Honorable Speaker, the Member of Parliament for Eldas constituency, Honorable Adan Kainan, has requested, straight to the, So the member for Eldas constituency has requested for a statement regarding the disappearance of Omar. I want to state as follows. Honorable Speaker, on 30th March, at around 9:22 hours, Mr. Hamad Omar, a resident of Wajir County, reported the disappearance of his father, Mr. Omar Mohammed, at Marsabit Police Station, vid OB number 13-30-0324. Omar, age 65 years, is a resident of Eldas Sub-County, Wajir County. He left home on 25th March 2024 in search of his missing camel that had been seen in Shur location in Marsabit North Sub-County. He was later seen in Shur location where he was picked by a white Land Cruiser, and his phone has since been switched off. His general description when he went missing is of brown complexion with no beard and clean-shaven head